Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review Inside Out 2. Now, before I can even get into this review officially, I thought I would share the trajectory I've personally seen this movie go on. So, first movie comes out, right? And a lot of people's interactions and reactions and reviews were mentioning when this movie was out, the first movie was done, how much it could, benefit from having a sequel, how much more there was left to explore, and so on and so forth, and how good the first movie was, of course, with that feeling being the end result. Cut back to when the trailer officially comes out, and then I saw a completely different group of people saying how useless a sequel would be, how much Disney's just doing sequelitis, and how much, how pointless this movie would be. So I've seen the two complete different spectrums of the thoughts and feelings about this movie. So I decided to check it out myself, and of course review it as objectively as possible. With that being out of the way, let's actually dive into what actually happens in this movie. So we kind of jump in where we left off, seeing how Riley is still into the hockey, and we're being narrated in by Joy, who fills us in, telling us that Riley is now 13, and as this is all playing out, we're sort of getting a montage of sequences showing us the, slight evolution of how things have traversed. However, we do see that things are about to change for the crazier, but let's, as a part of this, we also already get some of our new gimmicks and understandings of how the brain works. We get how, the core belief system in this movie, which was not in the first movie if I remember everything from the first movie. So already, the people in the first section of the thing I've talked about is already being implemented this early in. We're already exploring ideas that have not been explored before. However, things get riled up as puberty hits in. Now, what I will say about this is that, how Turning Red's whole focus was on puberty? Like, that whole movie is about that. This movie sort of delves into it in a minuscule way, in a much shorter time span. I assume that, though, despite it's throughout the movie, we more so, again, focus on other elements, like the quote-unquote talk, as it were, gets held off as an example. And that sort of is implemented in Turning Red as well. But again, that movie has a lot more focus on it. So, as this is happening, we see how the demolition team of the brain is coming in to mess shit up. And the core emotions are the ones that were there initially, are all getting invaded by said new emotions. Of course, we meet them, and anxiety ends up being our primary sort of quote-unquote antagonist throughout the movie. Now, of course, I'm not going to say the word villain. That's not the obviously. But this is, of course, also telling us where this movie's focus is primarily going to rely on when dealing with that versus happiness, because those two things sort of push and pull against each other. Anxiety is like worrying, and, joy is happiness. So, again, very polarizing emotions. So having those two interact was very much, again, in terms of, well, again, elements we have not seen before. So, the backtrack, or what Riley is going through is that she's going to a camp, a hockey camp, and specifically with her friends. Her friends are going to a different high school, and she has the chance to, with that being the outcome, make some new friends. She has a type of dilemma, and again, this is where anxiousness first arrives. And so too does envy pretty early on. And with the last two being embarrassment and the hardest to pronounce, I literally wrote boredom because I did not feel like looking it up. They use like the official name of it, like the official emotional name. I think it would have, like, they tried to make a comedy bit out of her name, but whatever. Anyway. So as I was talking about, anxiety pretty much takes the lead in dealing with how to operate Riley. So they do that, they begin to lock away some certain set of emotions, which is something that Joy was also doing as well, so a bit of hypocrisy perhaps here. And we get to see how the original emotions all get shunted away, and how these new set of emotions pretty much take over. So now it's our original group of emotions that are on the track instead of just joy and happiness, or joy and sadness rather. So anger, disgust, and I believe nervousness, the purple one, the light purple guy. I forget if that's his official emotional name, but whatever. That's what I'll call him for ease of this review. Point being is that they are all shunted away. The new emotions are piloting everything Riley is doing. And again, anxiety is at the helm, using this core belief that they need to be, she needs to be the best. And that sort of keeps piling up on her. So as they get locked away officially, they run into some hidden away dark, memory bank, where they meet this Dora the Explorer ripoff character, and the part of the trailer, remember what I was talking about at the beginning, how people were saying it was useless, and even I saw people say that this part was cringe at the not Game Choice Awards, but the Summerfest thing, is that there was a trailer, I saw someone's reaction, they saw Young Ye was the voice of this fighter character, and then they said, oh, cringe, whatever. And sure, it's like, it's sort of meant to play off like that in a way. Like, his special move is like this spin move, and he talks all dramatically, and so they, like, primarily use the other guy, the Dora ripoff, to sort of help them escape, kind of. With the new, system in play, Riley focuses on trying to win and, play off on her new friends and try to, lean into whatever they like and dislike whatever dislike. So trying to fit in with the new in-group to not feel left out is essentially what she's trying to go for here. But with the brink of anxiety deepening, it tries to help her avoid sleeping and keeping focused. And sadness makes her way back pretty fast in comparison, and the embarrassment one, the emotion helps her out throughout this little segment here. From hiding to getting some control back, things like this. So, anxiety forces a brainstorm to occur, which all these ideas get sort of brought in. Again, playing with more ideas and concepts of how the brain, utilizes, what's going on in here, and displaying it in a way that a young audience can understand on top of all of this. Because, let's be real, emotions are pretty complex, and the brain itself is like the most complex thing about human beings as we know it. So, this is like some top tier, like, you have to know what you are writing about. And, when I was looking at all the stuff for the writers for Inside Out after that movie came out, I was like, oh, these people actually looked up, like, how does, like, memory stuff work? How do, what causes these memories to occur? So on and so forth. Like, they actually did a lot of research into this subject. So they were really prepared for part one. And it would seem like as if they took, like, all the pieces that weren't present and couldn't fit in Inside Out Part 1 and started filling that out here with including the new emotions as well. And having it so timely with, again, the whole thing with puberty and how that messes with the brain and all the emotions and all that stuff. So yeah, it really makes things complex, and again, we get filled in with the other characters' brain, thoughts or emotions throughout it, from time to time as well, on top of everything. So, again, we get really quick characterization through that because, well, all of those different, emotions make up that character. So even if it's like a line from like two of the emotions, you kind of get a gist of like what's going on here. So this allows for them to, anxiety to get a big idea to, like, focus in on that game and get those scores, get the 3 scores. Which seemed to be like a part of like this grand, like, tournament thing or whatever. I don't know what you would call it, but anyway. So, sadness is getting helped again, and joy is getting further and further lost. And this is the part of the movie where I think they definitely hit the nail on the hammer. Is that the more you grow up, the less joy you feel. And boy, oh boy, does that moment just... That is the writers paying attention to how emotions work, because that is so true that it kind of just hurts a little bit. It's like, oh, that's unfortunately true, It is what it be. So, yeah. So the emotions that are outside of the brain console area cause this avalanche of emotions to start flooding in so that they can start to have, that all happen. Trying to move closer to where they're trying to get to. Meanwhile, anxiety, or Riley, because she's like getting kicked out during like this is all during like a hockey, like the main like core hockey game. So she's having a panic attack. And I gotta say, now this might be the hottest take in this entire video, but I'm gonna say it. Puss in Boots' Last Wish, and the anxiety scene that's really, really good, the one with the dog. I think this scene does anxiety, and the heart attack thing just a little bit better. That's right. My extremely hot take on this movie. I think, because the reason I'm gonna stick with that is because this is calming of a heart, or like having a panic attack. There is no one else for Riley in this moment, and it's just a moment, and it's just her she's been, like, she got a penalty or whatever, and it's just her breathing and her slowing her breathing, and then we're cutting back in between that and what the emotions are doing, and how that all just sort of interludes with all the emotions getting back into the thing, how they're all trying to interact with Riley to get her to not be like in this state. I think this scene really demonstrates like this maelstrom of like all of these different thoughts and feelings all just brewing together, and having it all just calm down when it all just starts to swell up as well. And it's handled so well. Like, again, I dare to call it better than Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which, again, is a fantastic scene. But I think this scene outdoes it a little bit. And again, I think it does have to do with how it's independent, in a sense. So yes. So the emotions all hug the core belief, the initial, the new belief that is like sort of, forming throughout all the different emotions, and now everything is again in this maelstrom of stuff. And she begins to just take control, as it were, apologizing to her friends, and, Joy takes over, because she has relieved all that tension on her own tuition. So now Joy is now called forth once back again, and she ends the game in that way. And the movie ends with her getting a little text from the camp, and then she smiles. And that's the end of Inside Out 2. And it's a perfect button, but it also simultaneously leaves itself open to a part 3. And by God, I think this movie is just as good as the first one. If not, maybe even a little bit better. I don't know. That's a tough call to make right now. But this is really, really tight. Like, for the amount of new emotions, that are packed in this movie, they make sure that the pacing is tight. They just boom, 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 and it never feels out of place. It always feels like that's the right emotion for the thing that is happening that we are seeing outside. And since it's mixed in with puberty, that makes the pacing of it match so much more. Like, it makes sense that the pacing is fast. Does that make any sense? Like, it's so brilliant. It is so brilliant. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I think Inside Out 2 is better than the first one. I actually do. Because it's so tight with how much new emotions it's dealing with, and how much of the newer concepts it's dealing with, and how much it's interweaving all of that with its new narrative. I gotta say, I think Inside Out 2 has surpassed its original movie for me. I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. I think this is some of Disney Pixar's best work for a sequel, like, in a long, long time. This is how you write a sequel, literally. This is how you do it. Like, this is the basics. You take a thing, you continue the continuity, which is exactly, brings us right where we left off, and then explores from that point and evolves with some new elements, and in congruity, the older elements are still connected with it. Nothing breaks within the context of this movie. This is how you do a sequel. This is it. This is what you look to. Whoever the writer for this is, keep this person on. For Disney, Pixar, or whatever. This is how you write movies. This is it, right here, Disney. Pay attention. This is a masterclass to me. And that's my review of Inside Out 2. So if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. And I'll head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. So get to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and third to my Discord, so you can join, collab, shill, do all that cool stuff. And until next time, everybody, bye-bye!